It stuns me, the hatred and the Trump Derangement Syndrome that they have. They need to go see a doctor. They really do. I think the Democrats are scared to death of what's happening in New York City. We've got an extremist, a guy that is absolutely a communist.
Will the city of Houston, the state of Texas, your patch, will you be welcoming fleeing New Yorkers with open arms?
We welcome anybody that wants to come down here, work, make a living, and believe in the Constitution of our country.
Tonight, is it Trump's big test? Millions of Americans have headed to the polls today in crucial state and city showdowns. And even though Donald Trump's name isn't on a single ballot, his shadow looms over everything. From governor races in Virginia and New Jersey to the rise of the hard-left Mamdani in New York. This is being called a referendum on Trump's return. Meanwhile, the Democrats are melting down, despite looking like they're going to be making gains tonight. Let's listen to what former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi had to say.
How can I say this? It'll sound like I'm awful about Trump because he's just a vile creature. The worst thing on the face of the earth, but anyway.
The worst thing on the face of the earth. Okay, meanwhile, Whoopi Goldberg, the lovey's lovey, literally ripped up a note on live TV after being asked to correct herself after making false statements about the president.
The meetings that they're supposed to go to when they're listening to, what the hell, what?
I love when Sonny passes notes.
We don't know if Trump used an auto pen to part. It was a joke.
Yes. We don't know if Trump used an auto pen to part.
Come on.
But we do know that he didn't know who that crypto guy was.
Well, I'm sorry. You know, the hardest thing about this job now is no one understands nuance.
Yes, viewers of The View, they're understanding nuance. But will the voters share that sense of Trump Derangement Syndrome? And the question on everyone's lips is, what does any of this mean, especially for next year's midterms? To discuss all of that and more, I'm joined live tonight in Washington, D.C. by Tim Rice from the Daily Wire. And in a moment, we're going to speak to Congressman Brian Babin from the great state of Texas. But first, Tim, good evening. The Dems, if the polls are believed tonight, are going to take New York by quite a margin. It looks like they're going to take the Virginia governorship. New Jersey's on a wire. It looks like California, they're going to get their gerrymandering votes through. They should be celebrating tonight. They should be happy and, with a skip in their step. Instead, they're sort of slipping back into the very worst sort of Trump derangement. What's going on?
It's really bizarre. It's almost as if they missed the fun of the last couple of election cycles, right? I mean, we've made a lot of hay out of these elections because they're the only ones we have. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone's really surprised that New Jersey, Virginia are going to go blue, that California, Gavin Newsom is going to get a redistricting measure passed, that New York is going to elect a liberal mayor, right? None of these things are that surprising.
A liberal mayor.
Well, yeah, we'll get back to that. A very radical mayor. That's obviously the craziest part of the cycle. But yeah, it's kind of bizarre that Democrats aren't just, even if you're not going to celebrate it, at least just take it in stride and move on to the next thing. It's objectively good for them if they're going to pick up these seats.
All right, Tim, stay there. Let's speak to Congressman Brian Babin. Congressman, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you doing, Harry?
Very well. Thank you for joining us tonight. It feels like Donald Trump's not on a single ballot paper anywhere in the country today. It's a very limited number of races that are going on tonight, yet it feels that everything is kind of seen through the prism of his return to the White House. Are these elections a referendum on the last 10 months?
Well, you know what? As you just said, Harry, they're probably going to win in Virginia, probably going to win the New York mayor's race, or New Jersey as well, but they're all in play. Let's put it like that. And I'm praying and hoping that we will pull these out. But there again, the Democrats ought to be celebrating the possibility of maybe sweeping these three states, California as well, on their redistricting issue. But you know what? They've closed our government down for the last 35 days. They got walloped at the polls in a electoral college landslide when Trump came in, and they just can't get over it, Harry. They absolutely cannot stand the fact that this so-called, as Pelosi said, vile creature is the worst on the face of the planet. It stuns me, the hatred and the Trump Derangement Syndrome that they have. Being a healthcare practitioner myself, they need to go see a doctor. They really do.
Does it help or hinder you? Does it help you when they sort of go this much off the reservation? And we've seen those clips of Pelosi, as you just said. It does seem to me that the Democrats don't seem to be getting their ducks in a row. Essentially, they're still reeling, as you said, from last year. But at the same time, Donald Trump is. His CNN poll out this week had 69% of a disapproval rating. There is room for them to go on the attack. Are you worried about what tonight's elections could show about the direction of travel for the midterms?
I trust the American people as long as we have fair and transparent elections. I think the American people, we're a center-right government and a populist, and I feel like that Trump is doing a fantastic job. I've never seen anybody work so fast in my entire life. We passed the one big beautiful bill, and since that time, he has done some amazing things. He's really flown all over the globe, making deals with friends and foes alike. And the Democrats just cannot stand it. They have to find something to criticize in his every word, his every move. And quite frankly, I'm telling you, I think this is the most rapid, most successful, in such a short period of time, administration I've seen in my lifetime.
He is doing a lot on the global stage, you're correct. He always seems to be jetting off somewhere to shake some hands and sign some deals around the world. But are you concerned that he's not giving his full attention, perhaps, to some of the issues like the economy? I know he's going to give a speech this week on the economy. Inflation and the cost of living and prices are still on the forefront of voters' minds. There is beginning to be some rumblings that the fact is, we're still in a month-long shutdown, that actually the White House's attention needs to focus on more domestic issues rather than those global foreign affairs.
I think prices are coming down, Harry. I really do. We have the lowest prices of gasoline in 4 solid years. We just had another quarter point reduction in our interest rates. The New York Stock Exchange and the stock market is doing quite well. Very well, as a matter of fact, and I think things are actually going our way in a way that I think probably it makes sense in the fact that we've got a man in office that is trying to turn this country back to its roots of its capitalism and free enterprise and freedoms and liberties for the American people. And a Congress that just got through passing the one big beautiful bill, the largest spending cut in history, the largest tax cut in history. I don't think it can help but do well. And I think there's a little method to the madness of shutdowns. I didn't know this at first, but the more this thing goes on, I believe that these Democrats are deathly afraid of the legislative session this time. They don't want to see Trump's actions put in codification and put into law. The more they can hold it up, the better they feel like they're going to do, even though I think they are losing the public relations battle on the shutdown. Are they really, though? Or are you equally being blamed as well? There's pictures from Houston of absolute chaos at George Bush Airport as those lines tail around the block. How are your constituents really feeling about it when this is actually biting them, affecting their day-to-day lives? And we're about to enter the busiest travel session of the year with the run-up to Thanksgiving. Surely it's on all sides to end this chaos before then, or risk blighting the entire holiday season for millions of Americans. Well, Harry, all I can tell you is what I'm hearing, and we get a lot of mail, a lot of calls, a lot of texts, communications, and overwhelmingly my constituents, and I represent about 780,000 of them in the greater Houston area, from Houston all the way over to Louisiana, to be exact. And they feel like Trump is doing a great job. They totally blame the Democrats. They know the truth. And they're concerned. Yes, they are very concerned about air traffic control. They're concerned about, food banks and what have you. But we are not going to turn the clock back. And when we explain to these people, if they do ask questions, that this government could be reopened with Chuck Schumer and 4 of his Democrat senators right now, within the next 5 minutes, if they wanted to. However, they have decided to go against a clean, continuing resolution one that is at spending levels of the Biden administration, for goodness sakes, and that one that the Democrats themselves have voted for 13 times in the past. Suddenly they want to increase spending by $1.5 trillion, $200 billion for free health care for illegal aliens. They're going to cut $50 billion out of our rural health care and hospital fund. And I think people, that they know this. They understand that the Democrats are posturing. They are not telling the truth. They are caught in lies on a daily basis. And I think folks have caught on to it. The mainstream media certainly comes out with the things that you have just asked me about. Yes, they do. We expect that to happen. But I think the truth of the matter is this government is doing under President Trump is doing much better than we had anticipated until this shutdown. And quite frankly, even though the legislative session has been ground to a halt, the president has not let that stop him. The grass never grows under his feet. He's been all over the world doing deals, right and left, trillions of dollars in deals with friend and foe alike. And I really appreciate that. And I think most of the American people do as well.
Do you think, though, that the Democrats and the Republicans will find a solution before Thanksgiving?
I would certainly hope that they do, because I don't know how the Democrats can continue to take the heat. As I said, most of our people understand whose fault this is. We did our work in the House of Representatives, and in the Senate, they did their job as well on the Republican side. It's Chuck Schumer and 5 Democrat senators. And I think we're going to probably get to a point where we're going to work a deal. And I think the only question now is how long is it going to be a continuing resolution for? Do we get, I don't want to do one in December. We'll do the same old deal that we normally do with a big omnibus and crammed down our throats. I don't want to see that happen. We need to get it out to a reasonable time, like to January, and give us some time to work, because the Democrats have eaten up all these past 4 or 5 weeks. But on the 21st of this month, we got to fish or cut bait, and that's what we're planning on doing.
He's mentioned Chuck Schumer there. I'll just broaden it out slightly to the events of today. Chuck Schumer, AOC, as well as Mamdani in New York. It feels like the Democrats are basically being run out of New York at the moment. How does that, as a man of Texas, how does that land with your constituents? It does feel to me that this sort of hard left shift is coming out of one city and setting the agenda on the left for the entire country. Do Democrats down your way appreciate that?
I think the Democrats are scared to death of what's happening in New York City. We've got an extremist, a guy that is absolutely a communist, who, look what he's done. Look what's happened in New York City since Giuliani was in office. What's a shining example of American exceptionalism, free enterprise, where New York led, America followed. No more, folks, no more. But if you want a preview of what this Zohran Mamdani wants to do to that city, you can just look at the places where all these types of radical socialist policies have been in play. They've chased away jobs. They've chased away safety and security, like Dearborn, Michigan. And I think this man, Mamdani, is absolutely dangerously soft on crime. What's his plan? Defund the New York Police Department, lay off 1,300 officers, empty Rikers Island prisons, flood the streets with violent criminals, and then at this all at the same time not cooperating with ICE, putting law-abiding families and citizens and officers at risk. I think the people catch on to this. Now, maybe not the folks in New York City, because a lot of people have fled that city because of all the above reasons that I just mentioned. The guy wants to raise the minimum wage to $30 an hour, jack up taxes. He's going to run more people off. This isn't compassion. It's economic suicide.
Will the city of Houston, the state of Texas, your patch, will you be welcoming fleeing New Yorkers with open arms and their tax and their spending money to come and live in Texas instead?
We welcome anybody that wants to come down here, work, make a living, and believe in the Constitution of our country, and make Texas just continue making Texas where it's really happening. Free enterprise, freedoms, liberties. This is the place. And that's why we're projected to grow about 25% over the next 15, 20 years. So, I can only speculate, but when you have radical politicians like Mamdani, when they gain power, you see bad things happen. Streets less safe, economy much weaker, communities more divided, a lowering of our world status on the global stage. I can tell you we don't want to see that happen again, and I think I'm speaking for the majority of Americans.
Congressman Brian Babin from the great state of Texas, possibly seeing a lot more new constituents arriving in the coming months to flee New York. Thank you for joining us tonight, and see you again soon. Now, Tim Rice is still in the studio with me. On that point, there was a really interesting point that the Congressman said that even the Democrats around outside of New York, outside of the coastal regions, in middle America, are terrified of Mamdani. This is a hard left takeover that could spectacularly backfire. Yes, they might take New York, and yes, they might take bits of California, yes, they might take some nice liberal bits of the country, but actually the rest of the country's looking at this going, no thanks, right?
I think it's absolutely going to backfire, right? This isn't the first time that New York has had a radical leftist mayor, but it's certainly the most radical leftist, and it's the first time. I mean, look, say what you will about Bill de Blasio, no one liked him from the beginning, right? He tried to have his little weird kind of progressive socialist whatever, but Mamdani is unquestionably charismatic, and he's very clearly already being feted as the future of the Democratic Party. I had sat for an interview with Senator John Fetterman yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
We can talk about more about that later. But he said at one point, it was a great interview, and I think most of what he said made sense. But at one point he said, I don't think that the Democratic Party which wants to win nationally, will take its cues from Zohran Mamdani, even if he wins the election. And I don't think that's true. I think everything about today's Democratic Party, from the Schumer shutdown to the way Joe Biden, one of the oldest, whitest presidents we've ever had, tried to prosecute his term like he was some DEI godfather. Like if the Democratic Party in the post-Obama years and the Trump years has proven to us anything, it's that they are absolutely willing to sacrifice national victories in favor of pandering to their most extreme left wing.
We have discussed at length already over the course of the last few weeks about the fact that there is a completely rudderless, leaderless sort of operation at the top of the Democrats. There is a vacuum to be filled, and so far it does feel to me that like the Mandamis and the Schumers and the Bernies and the AOCs are the only ones that really make any noise. You've got Gavin Newsom desperately trying to detoxify and lose the pronoun stuff and do right-wing podcasts and just generally try to sort of get the barnacles off the boat and distances himself from that radical leftism. But he's also then got his track record in California to defend. From where I'm sitting, it looks like the only future for the Dems right now is a shift to the left.
Absolutely, and it's also for all of the reasons that you just said, but also because the Democratic Party has gotten itself into this sort of vicious cycle where any attempt to moderate is going to seem like it's the most extreme voices immediately say you're a fascist, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are people in the Democratic Party calling Gavin Newsom a fascist, calling Gavin Newsom, a Trump toady, right? Senator Fetterman said to me he hasn't heard from any Democrats. MSNBC won't call him anymore. I mean, you as a Democrat say the most common sense things, and you are persona non grata.
Explain to our listeners who might not know, readers and listeners and viewers and everyone who might not know about who John Fetterman is. He's had a very fascinating journey, but he strikes me as the most sensible of all the Democrat senators right now. He is willing to engage with the Republicans. He's urging the shutdown to end. He's told everyone to stop being hysterical. You spoke to him for your interviews out today?
Yeah, interviews out today.
What did he have to say?
Well, he basically, he reiterated a lot of what he said, which is that, Democrats need to own this shutdown and that it's really just unacceptable and Democrats need to reopen the government. He has put the blame firmly on his own party. It is one of the many ways that he's found himself agreeing with Trump and the Republicans. And as you were sort of hinting at, this is a little bit shocking because Fetterman, before he was a senator, was the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. He was elected in 2022 after a very partisan campaign against Dr. Oz, during which he suffered a stroke and he still has he's still recuperating from that. But he was, this is the guy, Carhartt hoodie, working man, pro-union.
Kind of what blue-collar Democrats used to be, right?
And it's like they're shocked, though, that this guy who won a purple state by being a regular Democrat, he said that phrase so much during our interview, they're shocked that he's actually governing like a regular Democrat.
Head to thedailywire.com to read that interview. Do you think that John Fetterman will remain a Democrat for much longer? It feels to me like, the Republic, if his party shifts any further, he's going to be standing in the centre with the Republicans.
I asked him that a couple of times. I was really hoping that that would have been his, I'm going independent moment. Wish he would have said that to me. But no, he said, he still believes in the Democratic Party. He believes in his version of the Democratic Party.
He's loyal to the party even when the party aren't loyal to him.
Aren't loyal to him, aren't talking to him. And I mean, I do have to admire his loyalty. He stopped short of saying that he couldn't become a Republican because he thinks there are certain things that are distasteful about the Republican Party. But I think it's going to be interesting.
Sounds like he'd be softened up over the years. Just in 30 seconds before we get a break. The other person that keeps popping up at the moment, I think is fascinating, is Obama. He popped up to say, let's easy on the lawfare, guys. It turns out that he called Mamdani to say, anytime you need me, buddy, I'm here. He stopped short of endorsing him completely, but he's definitely showing some ankle. Is the former, leader of the Democratic movement noticing there's a big old empty space in there? And, he's not an old guy, right? Is he eyeing a return?
Senator Obama again, right?
Go back
and do it again.
Trump
right?
Obama 2028. Let's have a rematch.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like Barack Obama, he pops up every election cycle. I don't think we read much into it.